All right, so without further ado, let's get started. Hey everyone, Mr. Happy here, and welcome to my live letter. What is this? Live letter 44, 45, live letter from 4.4. It's 4.4 part 1 live letter. Who really cares about the number, right? In this live letter, they talked about a little bit of previewing for patch 4.4, talked about Pagos in 4.36. They talked about the Monster Hunter World collaboration and some new announcements at the end. It was kind of a rushed live letter because they had a strict 2.5 hour time limit and they brought over some Capcom devs or some people from Capcom to talk about the Monster Hunter World collaboration. They rushed through the 4.4 section really quick and just said that they didn't have time for it. They ended up spending a lot of the second half talking tech stuff, like, what was it like collaborating on this, and what was the process like, and what difficulties were you presented with. So I feel like there could have been more time for 4.4 stuff, but we got pretty much what we expected in terms of 4.4 content, what would be revealed. So let's get into it. They started the live letter by showing off Pagos a little bit, just a few screenshots, and giving us a date for it. Pagos will be on August 7th, which surprises me. I was really banking on July 24th. August 7th, just a week before Battle for Azeroth, just pretty late. I'm okay with this kind of staggered release schedule like they're doing, but really weird for them to have this massive difference in date between August or between 4.35 and 4.36. A little too staggered for my liking, but it may mean that in 4.4, which is generally considered a raid patch, Pagos is closer in proximity to it, so it might mean that people still have Pagos to work on as they go through, if they're not somebody who's working on the hardcore raiding aspect of 4.4. So they showed off a bunch of screenshots. Pagas Expedition will be in this patch. They did a quick video demonstration, which just showed off some of the areas. It's a bunch of screenshots here. Nothing really too spectacular, but you do get to see the view. And they did say Pagos would have more verticality to it, and you do kind of get that feeling from the way the areas are being shown and the way the scale of the areas altogether, some of the views that they end up showing. But still, all the same, there wasn't really too much more information. A quick screenshot of the cave that Snoo Snoo is going to be hiding in. Also, them running around, a bunch of enemies. See, like, you get a little bit better view of the verticality there. And I know the top is a little bit cut off, but it's just because of the way I have the Reddit Discord captured. Before we go any further, I should thank the people who do it. It's at the top right, but credit to Aluna on the Reddit Discord for the translations, and Hezkessel for these images that you're seeing posted right now. They did show off the minion. I had forgotten about the minion with all the other things they showed. That's a Momboro, as far as I'm concerned. Oh, she looks so pretty. She looks so pretty. And also a Taru in a vermilion cloak. I wonder if the vermilion cloak itself is going to be available. I know they mentioned the black Coda Hardy as an item that we might be able to get from Pagos, similar to the way we had like the hairpin and the scorpion harness, but no mention of it. So we have the Taru. They showed off a single one of the weapons. This is the Black Mage weapon, and this is not its final form. Basically, you'll take your completed Onimos weapon, and you're going to turn it into, this is the first step of the Pagos weapon, or the first look of the new Pagos weapon. Much more unique, stands out a lot more, and the Black Mage weapon here got what looks to be one of Nidhogg's eyes up there. I'll just call it the Eye of Sauron. A little crown and these vines reaching around the back end. He says that the final forms are so flashy, they don't look good in screenshots, but they look great when you're actually using them. He did comment on Paladin, but didn't show a screenshot, saying that it looked a little plain, I suppose, but they didn't show it off, so I guess we'll just have to wait. They did a refresher on the companion app, letting people know that it's in its final debug checking phase, and then Apple and Google need to approve it. And then they just went over all the functions and features again. We've already done videos on this. This has already been covered in multiple live letters, so we really don't need to go into any detail on any of this. It doesn't look like anything's changed. It still has the premium service, the coins, the coupon nuts, all the services between free and paid. It just doesn't seem like there's actually news here to talk about. So we're going to skip through that section. If you haven't looked it up, you can always check the Reddit Discord itself in the translations and mining section and all the slides and stuff, or you can look at live letter like 44, 43. They've talked about it a lot over the last few live letters. Moving on, they talked a little bit about the regional championship. Again, this is mostly refresher stuff that they were doing, regional championships in each area. He's been observing matches in the different data centers, lots of strong players. So those were basically like minor announcements that they started with, reminder of things that are currently ongoing or are soon to be coming before patch 4.4. Specifically with the feast, the preliminaries, for example. So moving on to patch 4.4, this is the art for 4.4, and let me see if I can adjust that a little bit so you can get a better view of it. There you go. As you can see, we have Solus, Varus, Xenos, Maxima, Alphino, and the Shadow Hunter, who's given Alphino the bad touch right there. And this is going to be the art for the patch, and the name of the patch is Prelude in Violet. So worth mentioning a few things regarding the name. 4.3 was the technical end of the Stormblood story. With Heavensward, we had the theme of Azure or blue. With Stormblood, we had the theme of red with blood. Violet is a mix of blue and red, and also the continent between the two would be the continent where Garlemald is located. You can also regularly see Garlemald shrouded in lightning. Lightning is the color violet. So where we had fire, water, or fire, or we had red and blue, now we have purple. The world's coming together to tackle the final, I guess not our final goal, but moving into Garlemald. So yeah, there's a lot of little subtext or little reading between the lines you can do to find out kind of where this is going. But yeah, Garlemald, we're working our way over to Garlemald is basically the one big thing you need to take away from that. That's going to be coming mid-September. Now, if I had to take a guess, September 11th would be the patch day I would guess. I know September is hell. We have Dragon Quest 11 that month. We have Spyro that month. We have Spider-Man that month. We have, well, they pushed back Code Vein, so at least that's something. And then we have this. So it's going to be a hell of a month, and that's not even all the things happening in September. So whoop-dee-doo. So what's actually new? Mostly the standard stuff they showed off here. New main scenario quests, new side quests, the Four Lords, more Hildebrand adventures in 4.45. Dolmen Reconstruction is going to be concluded in 4.4 as well. I think I don't know if Dolmen Reconstruction is 4.4 or 4.45. I think it's 4.4. I think Dolmen Reconstruction updates right in 4.4. We're going to be getting 2 new dungeons. We're going to be getting the Burn, which is its tentative name. Some of you should know that location. It's an area that was scorched by the destruction, basically all of its ether sucked dry by primals, and was one of the things that the original Emperor Solus had seen and really prompted his goal of eradicating primals from the world, or icons as he called them. It's also where a portion of the 4.3 main scenario quest takes place, so very much looking forward to the Burn, and I guess our reason for going there. I feel like that has to be main scenario related, specifically regarding the events in 4.3. So very interested. Also, St. Mosia's Arboretum, one of my favorite dungeons from the 3.x series, and I'm glad to be going back there. I always wanted to explore more about that area and the things that were there, so I'm glad that we're going to be going back there. Then let's talk a little bit about here. He got traumatized by the Malboro, the first boss. There's a quick picture of the Burn, a portion of it at the very least. You can see this large serpent. You can see some structures around of some of the destroyed civilizations that were probably here at some point. But that's the only screenshot they show us, really, of the dungeons. So looking forward to seeing how that actually pans out. Play the MSQ to find out. The new trials, we're going to be getting Suzaku as our next Four Lord. There's no name for the trial itself yet, so they just called it Suzaku and Suzaku Extreme. It doesn't mean tentative because it won't be, it may or may not be there. The name is what's tentative. So that leaves us with just Seiryu in terms of the Four Lords, which really does raise the question about Koryu. You know, we're still under the impression that a 4.6 is not likely. It's been confirmed that the next Omega tier is the final one. So 4.6 would have to do, if there was a 4.6, it would have to stand out. It would also be relatively close to an expansion launch if we're assuming next summer. So there's a big question about Seiryu, and if Seiryu is going to be a trial, if they're going to skip right to Koryu. It's tough. It's tough to know exactly what they're going to be doing with that, but this is the third of our Four Lords that we're going to be fighting, so we'll just have to wait and see. Looking forward to Suzaku. I can't wait to see what they actually do with Suzaku itself to make it stand out as the big bird, because he's just a big bird. That's what he's supposed to be. Part 2 will have more information on Suzaku, and then we have Omega. So the next tier of Omega is going to be called the Alphascape. So it looks like we're going backwards in the Greek alphabet, going back to the beginning. And this name is fitting because it's the beginning, and it's also the end. Because like I said, this is the last tier of Omega for Final Fantasy XIV for this expansion. So no more Omega. That's it. We're wrapping up the story right here. So, will we fight Omega as the final boss? You know, who will the other bosses be? Find out in the next episode of Dragon Ball Z. They don't reveal anything about it. So, just that it's going to be called the Alphascape, and there will be a Savage mode, which is not news to anyone. Let's see. Going in, job adjustments. They didn't say what the job adjustments will be, just letting us know there will be more of them. Now, role action slots, this was a pretty big topic when it was actually spoken about in the live letter. So recent feedback from players was saying that role actions were kind of silly because for every role, I suppose, 3 or 4 of them were always mandatory. So you really only had that last choice of one. And so like for the majority of it, you just didn't have choices. So now you still won't have a choice, but it won't matter because they're saying you can do up to 10 role actions. As in, like, pretty much all. So, up to 10 role actions now. So, you have basically no excuse not to take Feint or True North or any of them, I suppose. So, yeah. So, let's cut down the amount of buttons that we have in our game. And then just make it so you can add them through role actions. Like, why even have just... The whole system just needs to be eliminated at this point. Because it makes... no sense to have it in the first place. It just doesn't make any sense. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm grateful to have all the utility all the time, but it's pointless. Like, the whole system is pointless now. So I don't know. That's it. Just I don't know. I don't know why even bother. Just that's it. All right. Anyway, moving on. PvP is going to be getting some stuff. They're getting a timed attack added to the quick chat so you can start countdowns for when you're going to burst targets down. There's also going to be PvP specific HUD layouts in the Wolf's Den so you can modify your HUD without actually having to go into a PvP match. There's also the 3rd installment of Eureka. That's going to be in the 4.4X series, probably 4.45 or 4.46. And that's the 3rd installment. We haven't even gotten the 2nd installment. Already talking about the 3rd installment. And they say that there's going to be some significant gameplay changes when it comes to the next region of Eureka. Now, the region's name is not revealed, but they did reveal what was called the Logos system. So the Logos system is described as a system where performing certain actions will trigger this new system, and the effects that it can have are greatly varied. I will also continue to upgrade our relic weapons. It only mentions the weapons here again. So it's possible that there will be absolutely no armor upgrades after the Onimos ones, because we know Pagos isn't giving armor. A lot of people assumed that maybe the 3rd installment would upgrade the armor again just because of item level reasons. Like, they probably assumed that the armor item level from Pagos would be a little bit too much considering the power of the 5 melded the pentamelds. So looks like that may not be the case, though. It only mentions the weapons here. So let's we'll wait for more info, but that's what it looks like right off the bat. But one thing it says regarding the Logos system is it says, for example, you can perform actions and they can allow things like DPSs to build threat and become a tank. I don't know what to think of that statement because it's so like, why? But why would I do it? Like, what's the reason? I don't know. I don't know what it is. At first, I thought maybe it was like skill chains because Eureka is like a giant love letter to Final Fantasy XI. Then I started thinking maybe it was like Final Fantasy XI's Abyssi procs. But then they say stuff like that, and I'm like, I don't know. That's it. I don't know. So all right, just wait and see. I'm just gonna wait and see. I'll wait for more information. And then, of course, it will go all the way and utilize the feature in the 4th episode of the Eureka series, which will be in the 4.5 series. So, yeah. Also, Lost Canals of Uznir will be getting a new dungeon. So when you enter the Lost Canals of Uznir after 4.4, you'll be given multiple options in the first room. So when you enter Lost Canals now, you go straight down to the first room and that's it. With the new Lost Canals, they'll add a different path you can take which will take you to a different portion of the Lost Canals, a different dungeon in the Lost Canals of Uznair. So when entering your map, you can choose, do I want to go down the original Lost Canals, or do I want to go down one of the other Lost Canals? So, oh man, that feels good. So it's pretty cool. I haven't done maps in a while, but a whole new dungeon inside the Lost Canals is something that'll probably get me to do maps again. Just a question of, what is the actual difference of it? Does it just look different? I mean, it'll probably function the same, but are there different enemies? Are there different encounters in there? Those are the things that we actually want to know. Crafting and gathering, new recipes. They're going to let you fish in the Doman Enclave, new fishing holes in the Doman Enclave. Slovia Leopo is getting her rewards adjusted so that people don't completely abandon her. And I feel like there was one other thing, but I guess not. No, I guess not. Grand Company updates. The captain rank is going to be unlocked via squadrons. There's going to be new squadron missions added to get to the rank of captain, and there's going to be new command missions for your squadrons as well. So another new rank for the Grand Company, something that people always ask for, and they've been doing it through squadrons. 3.4 was the last time we got an update to that rank. So yeah, there, you'll get even more. Housing updates, mannequins are going to be added. Now, I guess I'll go to the later slide. It specifically says that gear equipped to mannequins can be put up for sale as a bundle, and it will link to the market board to do so. So when I saw that, I immediately thought, well, does that mean we can't use our mannequins to just display armor? And it says that it can be put up for sale, not that it has to be put up for sale. So what I'm hoping is that, based on the wording, the mannequins can put anything on display, but if it is something that can be sold, like glamours that you pick up from various content that can be sold on the market board, that it can also be used as a means of selling stuff, since it will link directly to the market board. There's also going to be new customization features being added for housing altogether. They're even going to add a role-playing status to your house. This is in reference to somebody, I can't remember which live letter it was, or if it was a live Q&A or what it was. There's somebody on one of the Japanese servers that role plays their house as like a cafe, which is used as an example in the translation here. And they asked for a role-playing status for their house. It was a requested feature from that player. And so they're going to be doing that overall for anyone who wants to have their house be of a specific function, or to play a specific role like that, in a role-playing game. So yeah, that's where that is. It will enhance the roleplay feature allowed, like make retainers serve you food and so on. That's pretty cool. That's a lot of depth to that right there. Now the Gold Saucer is also going to be getting an update, platforming puzzles. So what's going to be happening right here is apparently they've purchased this area out in Thanolin, which you're going to be able to use as a jump puzzle for the Gold Saucer. Up to 120 people can do it at a time, and I'm excited. I really like the Kugane jump puzzle, so having the Gold Saucer have what looks to be a real jump puzzle being included in it, and not just like one of those like 2-second jump puzzles that was part of the other thing. I'm excited for that. So I'm looking forward to it. And it's a gate too, so it's going to have MGP rewards. It's not just going to be a jump puzzle for like a sightseeing log or something. I'm hoping there's some achievements focused around it as well. And they're also planning on doing this with more landmarks. So look for some of your favorite landmarks and things that you think maybe, oh man, that would have been great if they did a jump puzzle here, because you don't know, it could actually get one sometime in the future, because they're going to be adding more of these puzzles into the Gold Saucer. So looking forward to seeing what they actually decide to do for that. Going on to the so I was surprised to see this. The Ceremony of Eternal Bonding is getting updated as well. They're adding new types of ceremonies, and they're also adding anniversary ceremonies, which basically just allows you to repeat your eternal bond with the person you're already married to. Which, let's be real here, on top of just being, it just kind of making sense from a business standpoint, it makes the most sense, because right now the Mog Station, there's very few things there that you could see as like repeat purchases, unless there's something like a Fantasia. But having a whole eternal bonding like ceremony, a zone, these cutscenes, but for players to do those once and then never see them again or never do them again, it kind of doesn't give the feature a lot of traction, or it doesn't make it a constant thing that people have to think about on the Mog Station. This is no doubt in an effort to basically add repeatability to the function of the Mog Station. Now keep in mind, there is, of course, the free version of the Ceremony of Eternal Bonding. It seems you can just do the free ceremony again if you want to, but no doubt people will be paying more to do the bigger ceremonies or to see the new ceremonies altogether. So it's definitely more of a business thing, it feels like. Obviously, Eternal Bonding is available on the Mog Station, so it's obviously a business thing, but it's not a bad thing. It just really surprised me to see it there. So just expect a lot more people to be doing Eternal Bonding again, with all the anniversaries and the new ceremonies being added in. Moving on, Group Pose is going to be getting updates. You're going to be able to see lock. You're going to be able to lock time and weather settings. You're going to be able to showcase minion actions and player walking and running motion. So for those of you who take some dope ass screenshots, you're going to be taking some doper ass screenshots. There's also going to be new screen effects that are going to be added. But the lock weather, I've seen a very positive reaction to in my Twitch chat. So it seems that's like a really, really big one for people who actually like do lots of Group Pose settings and lots of Group Pose images. So there's that. Additional updates, Crystal Tower requirements are going to be revised, specifically the fates that you need to do for the quest. It doesn't say they're going to be removed, but it does say they will change the requirement. So for me, that means that it may as well be removed. He got real life, Yoshida that is, got real life complaints that entering the Crystal Tower was too tiring. So Yoshida's adjusting it. So it will be easier to unlock the Crystal Tower for newer players. Of course, new Allegan Tomestones. That's when 4.4 comes around, Mendacity will be uncapped, or its weekly cap will be removed. It'll be pushed down to the standard Tomestone, and a new Tomestone that is weekly capped will replace it. The duty recorder is going to be getting more recordable duties and features revised. Right now, that's one of my biggest disappointments content-wise. I had a lot of ideas for it, and unfortunately, it just works in far too few places. So I'm hoping that it's more than one place at a time with the new update, fingers crossed, and not just replacing the old location with the new stuff. We'll see. Unending Journey. So I was really excited when they announced Unending Journey features would be expanded. I was hoping for a playlist. That's the number one thing I want out of the Unending Journey is a playlist. However, all it seems like they're doing, or at least the only thing that's mentioned, is that you'll be able to pick dialogue choices. Yay. All right, well, whatever. And the other thing is, so now you're going to have configuration data able to be saved server side. So any of you who have ever had to take your character and like, you're like, oh, you want to go to a friend's house and log in, and you're going to use their computer. Before this, you could like throw your character info in like a Dropbox folder or bring it on a USB thumbstick. You could do any of those things. Now what you can actually do is you can choose to manually save your character configuration to the server. It has to be you have to manually save it. So it's not an automatic save. That's expanded on. I did that again. That's expanded upon a little bit later in the translation. And it's nothing's mentioned regarding PS4. So I don't want to say that it's not a PS4 feature, but there's no mention of the PS4 really in this. The main reason why they're doing it is for people who use cafes, computer cafes, and that's the main reason, that the main way that they go about playing the game. This will make it easier on them in particular. If they go to a cafe, they pick a new computer, they don't have to worry about uploading their character data. They just log in and they're good. So yeah, awesome. That's good news. It's also just good for people. Like I go to conventions sometimes and I want to play 14 at the convention on the computers, but I always forget the information. So I know I'll use it at least for that. So yay. And that was it for the 4.4 section. Like they only spent like 20 minutes. They just rolled through all those things. They said that's not all of 4.4, but that they were, again, running short on time. That's not how you use air quotes. But anyway, they were running short on time. And so they'll do the rest of it in the second half of the 4.4 live letter, which we already have a date for, which will be described a little bit later. They took a 10-minute break, showed off some images from E3. That's one of my favorites right there. Damn it, I did it again. My other favorite would be this one. I feel like this image is like when he gets like Q&A questions, I feel like this is how he actually feels every time. So I feel like there's a lot of memes that can come from this image, and I look forward to the great many of them that will come from this image at a later point. So Yeah, and then they just showed off the rest of the video. Then we had a 10-minute break, and then they brought on some Capcom people. They brought on Fujioka, who is the executive director, and the art director, Yuda-san. So they brought them on to talk more about the collaboration. They showed the Monster Hunter side of the collaboration. This trailer came out last week, so if you haven't seen it yet, be sure to just do a quick YouTube search, Monster Hunter World X Final Fantasy XIV collab. They did a gameplay trailer for it, so you can also find it on on Monster Hunter World's Twitter itself. So then they spoke a little bit about the collaboration on that side, what it'll be, conditions, Hunter rank 16 or higher for the Behemoth, on top of all the different rewards that there will be. You have the Dragoon armor, you have the Gaebulg, you have the Palico skin or the Moogle skin for the Palico. You have some other objectives. You have the Poogie being replaced by, or the Poggy being replaced by the Baby Behemoth. You have the Kuluyaku enhanced by the Crystal, which will be explained in the story. You also have a Cactar hunting quest. They showed all of this in the gameplay trailer, so it's pretty big stuff. So, and that's going to be a free title update for Monster Hunter World that will be permanent. So those of you who are getting the game a week later on PC, comes out August 2nd. Will be a permanent edition for Monster Hunter World. So don't worry about if you have to wait for the PC version. You will still get to play it a week later, and you get to play it forever. So don't worry about when you actually do it. Then there were a bunch of screenshots here talking about the collaboration. There's a bunch of gameplay shown, but really it's the details we need to talk about. So these weapons are not Rathalos weapons, but the armor you're seeing right here is Rathalos armor. I'm assuming it's just male and female sets. I don't know that for certain, but it's implied that those are the two armor sets that you're going to be getting. We are going to get a Poggy minion, and of course a Rathalos mount. Everyone said it, and I was like, no way, yeah way. It's gonna be a Rathalos mount. So Rathalos comes out the same day as Pagos on August 7th, so he will be included as patch 4.36. There will be Rathalos King of the Skies, but more importantly, we're not just getting Rathalos King of the Skies, we're getting the Great Hunt. The Great Hunt is the name of the trial for Rathalos. Oh, that's right, and we're getting an extreme mode of that as well. And that's not all the information that you're going to be getting. So, some information about the Great Hunt and the Great Hunt Extreme. The Great Hunt is a normal mode, 8-man trial, with a minimum item level of 320. You can be done with anywhere from 1 to 8 people, at least according to the slide we're going to be scrolling down to later. The Great Hunt Extreme is going to be minimum item level of 350, and it is going to be a 4-man extreme trial. So yeah. We're getting a 4-man extreme trial. That's it. 1 to 4 people is going to be for that one. So some other information regarding Rathalos. He ignores threat, so everyone is a tank. So this is quite the opposite. The Behemoth in the Monster Hunter World side of the collaboration, it actually has enmity in Monster Hunter World. By attacking the head, you generate bonus enmity, so you can actually tank Behemoth in Monster Hunter World like a traditional Final Fantasy XIV boss. So on the flip side, Rathalos in 14 has no aggro table. And so, yeah, it's like the Stone Vigil hard mode boss. You got to watch for the telegraphs and just avoid things with your own natural skill. Done to emulate the gameplay scene in Monster Hunter World, you'll also get a duty action to drink potions to heal yourself up. Now, the reason why you'll need that is because you can get a debuff that prevents healing by magic entirely. It says you can get a debuff. This is an unofficial translation, though. It's maybe implied that you have that debuff the whole time, but it's never explicitly said. So you have up to 10 potions in order to heal yourself from the damage that you do take inside of the fight itself. You can also mount the Rathalos. So there's a lot of things here that emulate the Monster Hunter way of actually fighting in that game. So, again, it's a 4-man, 8-man extreme. So one of the big things is the normal mode seems to function a lot more like a traditional Final Fantasy XIV fight. On the extreme mode, you have a 3 feint rule, like in Monster Hunter. So you'll have auto raise, meaning that when a player dies, they'll be automatically resurrected with their full health and sent back into the fight. However, if you die 3 times, you will fail. So make sure that those players are not dying. It's just meant to emulate Monster Hunter as much as possible in this case. Unfortunately, Yoshida said that they were going to add a break parts mechanic, and unfortunately, the graphics did not get approved based on the game's rating. They couldn't get the game re-rated except when releasing an expansion, so they couldn't add blood effects or proper part breaking. In other words, they wanted it to be as like the Monster Hunter chops as possible, and the only way they could have possibly gotten the part breaking to get through the rating system was to make it less like the source material, and I guess they opted not to do that overall. So I guess we can chop Raoban's arm off, but because it wasn't as, I guess, gory in terms of the graphics that were shown, that was fine. But if they wanted to make something that's a lot more like Monster Hunter's actual chopping off of body parts, they would have had to get the rating adjusted. So they said they couldn't get it passed. He's regretful of it, but that's just the situation that they found themselves in. So then they go into the requirements. We already knew that. You need to be level 70, beat Stormblood, and then again, minimum item level 320 for normal mode. Party size is 8 players. Extreme mode is party size 4 players. Average item level of 350, and yeah, so that's it. So the main reason why they made the extreme mode 4 players the main reason is because in Monster Hunter World, that's the maximum party size. The rule of 5, I believe it's called in Monster Hunter. Why you can only send 4 players out onto a hunt. So that's the main reason why they did it. And Yoshida's been getting a lot of requests for extreme 4-man content, and he says he's been very reluctant to do it because it's literally all on the healer's back. The healer dies, the fight's over, pretty much, unless you want to do things like force compositions with Red Mage, or or having reses available from your DPS role. So, but with the Monster Hunter World collab, because that's kind of just the size they want to aim for, then that's what they do. So this one's going to be, that's why the extreme mode is 4-man here. So there's not going to be any weapons, but the equipments, these full sets, will be available. There's going to be a dyed version and a non-dyed version. So you can assume that the normal mode would probably be the non-dyed version and that the dyed version would be extreme. However, you're not just going to get armor from killing the boss. Basically, when you fight Rathalos, he'll get drops from Rathalos, and then you can give it to an NPC, and the NPC will forge the armor for you, just like it would happen in Monster Hunter, which is probably why they wanted to get the part breaking working, but had to change it significantly. What's it called? They tried to imagine how would Eorzean crafters come up with gear if they had access to Rathalos' parts without copying over the Rathalos gear. There's also going to be a new housing furniture, which is going to be the meat, which looks like it has, oh no, I thought he was spinning it actually, but it looks like he's just pointing at it, or he's just doing this to it. So yeah, so you're going to have a new housing adornment, which is of course meat, which is going to be good. There's going to be the Poogie minion, or the Poggy minion, and then there's going to be a Palico minion. Originally said the Palico wasn't a minion, it was the quest giver, but I guess it is also a minion on top of being the quest giver. So there's that. And then of course you have the Rathalos mount, which we showed off a little bit earlier, and it just looks badass. It just looks badass. This event is permanent, by the way. There is no end date on this event, just like with the Behemoth over in Monster Hunter World. So you don't have to worry about competing with the time frame of when you actually play the game. You can do this event at any point you subscribe to the game itself. So enjoy that. Apparently they got a lot of Kieran gear requests, but Yoshida replied, maybe next time. I like the idea of a next time. I like it. I like it. It'll be in the content finder and the duty finder. And then from that point on is when they started talking about all the tech stuff. There wasn't really much to say here, but there was some little information right here where, no, it's not here. Where is it? No, I think it's down a little further. Yes. So one thing here is, the devs for Monster Hunter World said they will be doing a harder version or an extreme mode of Behemoth in Monster Hunter World in a future update. His current version is HR16, which is right after you beat the game's main campaign. And so, people will probably, bury through it real quick. So they want a harder version of it at a later date. So a tempered Behemoth or, an arc-tempered Behemoth, something like that along the lines. So we'll see how it actually turns out, but expect Behemoth to get a harder version in Monster Hunter World at a later date. Yoshida joked that eventually they could do an ultimate version of Behemoth. Joked. And besides, he was talking about on the Monster Hunter side of things. And then after that, again, it was just a bunch of tech talk. There's not really much to say here. It's good stuff, but again, with the language barrier, it's hard to really enjoy the conversation, I guess, in its natural format, unless you speak the language. So I couldn't really absorb much of this, and there wasn't really much to say. In Japan, there's going to be a sale on Monster Hunter World the same day as the collaboration starts on the Monster Hunter World side, so August 2nd. And then, of course, the PC version releases on August 9th. Then they did announcements. So for announcements, they first talked about FanFest. And yes, they did bring up the recent ticket debacle, which we will be talking about in the upcoming State of the Realm. And Foxconn spoke English for this. He took what Yoshida had to say and he translated it to us so that way he can make sure he was speaking to the people whom it concerned for North America. So Yoshida said, and Foxconn translated, back in 2016, the last fan festival, took about 10 hours to sell out for NA tickets. They were expecting something similar, so they sold more tickets, but what actually ended up happening was that 2 minutes in, there were about 6,000 people in queue to purchase tickets. So because there were so many people rushing into the queue, the partner, where their ticket partner was getting very unstable. There's a risk of crashing the whole queue, so to avoid that, the partner disabled the code input requirement for approximately 500 people. So because of that, it is a fact, some people did go through and they did purchase tickets without needing a code. But it was only around 500 or something people, and they checked those purchases, and they could not find any proof of ineligible purchases. Now, they didn't describe what ineligible means, and this is the second time they've said that in terms of public announcements regarding whatever happened. I'm assuming what they mean by ineligible, meaning I'm assuming they were able to determine that these 500 people who made purchases were people that were active players of the game, so people who would have had access to the access code anyway. It shouldn't be too difficult for them to check with the names based on account information, who it is that was actually purchasing the tickets itself. So they understand that there's demand for more tickets. The current number is just not enough. They recognize that. So for the next set of fan festivals, so I guess 2020 to 2021, they need to consider a larger capacity. It's very clear to them now their venues and the amount of tickets they offer is simply not sufficient for the number of people that are desiring to attend these events. It's no surprise Stormblood brought a lot of new people into the game with the significant increase to their marketing budget, or at least what appeared to be their marketing budget. They were everywhere I saw Stormblood. They were in fucking WWE. So I'd have to imagine that they got a lot more people who said, I want to attend this, than they anticipated, and bam, that's what actually ended up happening. So it sucks, and it's definitely not a good thing, but if a ton of people bought tickets, a ton of people bought tickets. I don't really know what to say about that. So that's what they're going to do. And also keep in mind, there are other things they can consider. Ticket sales in Japan for FanFest are done with a lottery system. A lot of things in Japan are done with a lottery system. For NA and EU, it's first come, first serve. So there is the consideration of what the method for selling the tickets actually is. I don't think any of us want a lottery system. It's just not something that's a satisfying means of trying to purchase tickets. It just doesn't feel good. But at the same time, first come, first serve, when things like this happen, don't feel much better. So we'll have to see what they say. But at this point, it doesn't matter. We got to wait for the 2020 FanFest or whatever it actually ends up being before we even remotely begin to concern ourselves with this again. So I'm just going to wait for whatever to happen. And that's it. I'll just wait and see. So then they just recapped the bike is going to be one of the things that you get for attending. The minions for each different region, these will both be available on the MOG station later. So if you don't actually attend FanFest, you can purchase these on the MOG station for a price that is currently unannounced. And also one other thing, don't forget, FanFest is free to view online this time, but the concerts will not be part of the free viewing. There will be no live streaming of any concerts they do at the FanFest this time. Ticket pre-sales for the European Fan Festival will begin on July 23rd. That's a week from today. So hopefully everybody will be able to, have less issues with the European one. Good luck. Good luck. Also, just the regional championship sponsors for the Feast Regional Championship in Japan are Alienware and Intel. The Rising, the 5th anniversary, is coming up, which means another 14-hour broadcast. There's going to be a letter from the producer live. Now, this is on August 31st, leading into September 1st. And every time there's a part 2 letter from the producer live regarding a patch, so in this case, patch 4.4 part 2, usually you add 10 days, and that's when the next patch will be. So that's why the September 11th guess is a pretty sound one for patch 4.4, just because the letter from the producer live is going to be happening during this broadcast. There's going to be special guests. There's going to be other shows. They're going to have a special challenge prepared for the other guys so they can... So, they have something to entertain people for 14 hours. And the Rising event itself will probably be on August 27th again. August 27th is the set anniversary date for Final Fantasy XIV. It was when early access ended and the launch was made official. So expect it to be the 26th or the 27th for the Rising for the 5th year. They're also going to be having floats at the Aomori Nebuta Matsuri. They're going to do a Chocobo float and a Moogle float. So if you're there or you see it somewhere, you'll get to see those floats. They're partnering up with Chanlu for bracelets, and they're going to be doing job bracelets. They are currently accepting orders now in Japan, and NA and EU pre-orders will begin in the future. The price is currently set in Japan to 14,000 yen, and the NA EU price is yet to be determined. He showed off the bracelet real quick. It's not really a great view of it. They both showed off the bracelet, but it's not really a great view. There's also going to be a poll for the Warrior of Light to choose their favorite songs from the 5 original soundtracks released so far. The top voted songs are planned to be included in an album scheduled for release this fall. So that voting period is going to be between July 16th, which is today, and August 10th at 7:59 a.m. PDT. And we just need a link for that. So be on the lookout for a link for that. There's also going to be another free login campaign coming up, which is surprising because I thought they just ended a free login campaign not too long ago, between July 16th and August 2nd. So what I'm assuming this is hoping to get people so they can get caught up before the Monster Hunter World collaboration goes live. They clearly don't want you actually playing the Monster Hunter World collaboration because August 2nd is when it comes out in Monster Hunter itself, and the 7th is when it ends, because there's nothing really happening between now and August 2nd, so they're just doing one. So, all right, there's another free login period. Up to 96 hours from when you initially log in, and that's only for people who already have service accounts, specifically inactive service accounts. They'll be at Gamescom 2018. They're going to have a battle challenge there for a shirt like they normally do. The Eorzean Symphony is Friday, August 24th and Saturday, August 25th over in Dortmund, Germany. There's also going to be a new thing over in the Eorzean Cafe in Japan. This one in Yokohama. They are going to have Heaven on Fries. Those are onion rings, but the joke had to happen. They're also going to have this nice, looks like a little drink, little cold drink right here, and then ice cream. So enjoy. Also, for every 10 items you purchase for the Eorzea Cafe for the 4-year anniversary, for every 10 items that you purchase, you get 1 acrylic stand for each different job. So I hope you're ready to buy 150 things at the Eorzea Cafe to get all 15 of these acrylic stands. But I still want them. Anyway, Spriggan plushie is going to be available. Accepting pre-orders now for Japan, NA, and EU. It's $35 US, so enjoy. And then the eStore was down because of that. And this was probably the most hype announcement. Eorzea, the Encyclopedia Eorzea Part 2 has been confirmed. Japan pre-orders will be available today. However, NA, the English version is scheduled to debut at the Fan Festival in Las Vegas. So this is the same way they did it for the first part of the Encyclopedia Eorzea, but it says that it's 300 pages of newly compiled information, which to me implies that none of this is recycled from the first thing. It is a part 2. It is a volume 2. So it is in addition to all the information that's available in the first Encyclopedia Eorzea. Koji, they do not pay you enough for this. That's all I'm going to say. Everyone who works on this, they don't pay you enough for this. Let's be real here, because that is insane. So enjoy. And then also the item that comes with it, the bonus in-game item, is Matoya's hat. So I want that. It's also only $50 for part 2 of the Encyclopedia Orzea, so not too bad. Not bad at all. And with that, that was the end of the live letter. So that was it. We covered everything we needed to cover. The 4.4 stuff, the Rising, the FanFest stuff was addressed, Rathalos, the Monster Hunter World collab, all this good stuff. So next thing we have to wait for is the next live letter during the 14-hour broadcast for the anniversary of the game. So that was where we'll probably find out a lot more of the meat of Final Fantasy, of Final Fantasy 14 patch 4.4. And hopefully you guys are looking forward to that. Now that I'm done letting you guys know what my thoughts are and an overview on what was actually spoken about here, again, credit to Iluna for the translation, Hezkezel for the images, including this great one, which I really wanted to include here at the end of the video. And thank you everyone for watching. Be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and share, and stay tuned. We'll have videos on the upcoming collaborations, on Pagos, as well as anything else that happens in the meantime. I'm going to go play some Octopath now, so thank you for watching on the YouTube side, Twitch. Let's go play Octopath. Thank you, and until next time, take care. And then there's probably going to